Hey all, I'm here at NAWIC's Family Construction Day. NAWIC, of course, is the National Association of Women in Construction. They are a non-profit organisation with a goal of getting as many women into construction as possible. We are at the very awesome Construction Futures Centres by CTF. That behind me is a house where they've got all these cutouts where you can see under the floor. There's all things around it showing where all the plumbing and gas and electrical goes. There's all these interactive displays behind me. This of course is the brick pit by the West Australian Brick Society. We go a bit further around, so yeah, there's just all these cool interactive displays, all related to construction, digging, VR. We've got half a concrete mixer up on the wall there. Behind me is all the static modules by the West Australian Brick Society. There's some really cool stuff, a bunch of cool construction vehicles there. And as if I keep going around, we've got another crane over in the background, and I'll keep going back around. And I, of course, am here with the Great Ball contraption. So let's turn the camera around and we'll have a look at what I've got on the table for you today. So I'm going to make a start here in my Rainbow Stepper series. This is a series of 7 modules in 7 different colours, and it was mostly an exercise in showing that you can take a really standard reliable module like a Brickfair stepper and build it in a whole range of different colours. So we've got the red, the orange, the yellow, green, blue, purple, and I think this is lavender, but you know, it's pretty close to a magenta. These of course all have the clear panels so you can see the mechanism on the inside. It's a piston arrangement just like you'd see in a car engine, and yeah, you can see as they go up and down the balls move from one to the other. The next module along is a chain lift, and this feeds into a little jump module, which is really cool. So this comes up and over, and it goes down and pew, into the next module. From there we're into a wheel lift. This one's been chugging along quite well all day. Another quite interesting mechanism where it sort of winds it up around the side. Next on we have a lifter module. So this one here is quite interesting. So we have a counterweight here. Where are we? The counterweight down there, and that's operating the little gate that's letting the balls in and out down the bottom. And then we have this spinning wheel which is going to pick them up and then drop the balls out the top, like so. Yeah, a really cool mechanism, that one. From there onto a Mako stepper. This of course is demonstrating shared power. And if I come down here and put my fingers, I put my fingers here so you can see the axle that connects these 2 gearboxes. So we have one motor here on the left that drives 2 independent modules. Into another stepper here, and then a 12-inch mill. Now, this line down here, I did have a train module running earlier in the day, but it was very, very unhappy. So we really went around and dug around all our boxes and came up with another 10 or so modules to fill the gap.
All right, unless it fits in with what I need.
Next up we have the Rainbow Wave.
Not mine.
I really like the use of colours here. I certainly don't know the names of these off the top of my head.
Hungry hippo.
From there we're into our counter module. So this one, the way this is working is the balls will come along and come up the chain lift, and as a ball comes through the chain lift, it's going to lift this little arm up here and press the switch. And we've got a little EV3 counter over here in the back. We're up to 2786 for the morning if I don't jam my camera in the chain lift. Awesome. All right. Now, next on is Black Widow. So some of you may have seen this in my last video. However, it's had a bit of just a tiny bit of an upgrade. So much so that I'm having difficulty fitting the whole thing in. So, since the last show, this module has almost doubled in size. It used to be, if you can think of the last video, it was just bigger than the inner ring that we can see in it now. Yeah, it now comes right out. Of course, Perth GBC, just to remind people where we are, and Black Widow. So very good use of the theming. We also have a couple of changes to the input mechanism since last time. So we've got this initial serpentine feeder that comes into the built-in ball pump, which comes right up, and I'll just nip around the back on this one. And what we have on the top here is a little splitter, so it's going to, just to keep the Ferris wheel running at a nice slow speed, it actually only takes every second ball into the mechanism. So one gets passed on, and one will go around the loop. And you know, Ferris wheels should be majestic, so that's all about keeping that nice and slow. From there into another one of the stepper modules, and of course the first Brickweld chain module. Oh, one after the other. We must have been doing a bit of filling here. So we've got two of these chain modules lined up. They've been ticking along great all day. We're then into a nice thin Brickweld sawtooth and a hamster wheel module. So the balls on this one come into the bottom. They'll come in and drop in the bottom and then be picked up by the wheel, and they'll come up and around and onto the ramp. From there, well, I'm just going to grab a couple of balls. All right. From there, we're into a sweeper module. And that is, of course, just sweeping the balls up really nicely. These ones are always a little interesting in terms of getting the gear ratios right in terms of spacing, because there's a certain geometry you need to ensure that the balls are actually sweeping up. And so in this case, we can see they've got a good use of the 40 tooths to get a sideways spacing, and then it looks like we only need a 24 tooth between our two 40s to get the vertical spacing up, and that's, everything's just working out just right on that. From there into an Archimedes screws. This, of course, is a very clever use of the ring gear, which comes in quarter segments, and is, you know, twisted a little to give it a spiral, so it actually acts like a thread. And if we come and look down it, we can actually see the balls working their way up the spiral. You can see that soccer balls coming closer and closer as it sort of slowly works up the Archimedes screw. Next one along is this tilt lift. I can't quite remember the name, but yeah, really love the mechanism. This driven entirely by inertia, where the balls will come, they hit the little ramps, and we'll move up into the next. And you can kind of see the angle that this thing is actually lifting them up. All done by inertia, very clever. Next along is 6 heads. 6 heads is, you know what, they're all very happy today. Last show I was out, they were fighting a little bit. So really good to see this one behaving itself and moving the balls along. On 6 heads, we're actually into a the Tom Atkinson's Perpetual Prototype. This, of course, is I think it's the Brickweld's variation of it. So we've got a really solid Brickweld frame here, but the core mechanism, of course, is back to Mr. Atkinson and his Perpetual Prototype. It's even coloured the same, which is excellent replication. From there, we're into a Ramps Oscillante, which has this really cool sweeping mechanism. So I'll just come out a little so we can see how the balls come along. So it's kind of one of those ones where you wonder whether the balls are actually going to make it, and it all just kind of works out. They build up just enough inertia so that even as it's kicking back, it'll still make it to the next module. Next along, we've got this neat little shooter here. Let's see if I can get in. We're going to have a quick look at what's going on in this one. So we've got a couple of little cams here on the wheels. Oh, let's see, get this in zoom. And that's hitting the bottom of the cam on the shooter. Looks like I'm having a bit of trouble with focus on this one. But yeah, so there's a cam on the wheel down the bottom there, and it hits a cam on the bottom of the shooter itself. And then that flicks them into this really cool net that we're seeing on the side here. It's a really good way of absorbing energy that comes out of the shooter on this. This actual little ramp here is more to do with Ramps Oscillante. It has quite a bit of inertia, and it just helps the balls stay in the input tray of this one. This one, we're into another lift. Oh, and this one, I missed one. There's a little one tucked down here. We've of course got a Brickweld ball pump. Sawyer? Yeah. All right. Then we're on to the Sawyer scissor lift, which is all these really cool mechanisms. Let's get in there and spend a bit of time looking at this one. So this one works where the balls are kind of picked up in the bottom. Oh, we just saw one go up on the back. So we'll kind of snip them, lift them up, and then come apart and drop them in the middle down here. So I'll just come up the top here so we can see this one working. There we go, yeah. So snipping it down the bottom, and then it'll come up here and drop them off to the top. The next one along, I'm not sure if it has a name yet, but it's kind of a flicker module. So it has this really, it's a neat use of sort of, what's what I'm trying to say here? It's kind of like it's an intriguing mix of Lego's tolerances, is probably the best way to describe it. So the way you can sort of see this little arm flicking backwards and forwards, you can see obviously on one side it's got a little 1x1 dot, and that's just enough tolerance that when we have some balls come through, it'll actually grip on the side, but it's not so much that when it gets to the top, it actually is mostly the inertia that's flicking it out. Most of the time this little arm isn't actually knocking it out, it's just the inertia itself, which is, there we go, really neat. From there into the brick world, brick world, tut tut tut. This is a Brick Fair workshop module, of course. I may or may not have had some involvement in the design of this. I do apologise if you're having trouble building this. You are of course welcome to reach out to me. The biggest tip I'd give to any builders is this little piece, which isn't in the original instruction, this little 1x5 thin lift arm, makes a big difference to the reliability of it. So certainly grab the latest instructions if you are intending to have a play with that. It's also, because it has a little brick belt piston in it, it's actually better built with older bricks. If you build it with brand new bricks, you can have issues with the very sharp corners on these curved slopes catching on the bricks on the side. But yeah, it's a fun build. It's a good example of a cardan mechanism. Yeah, compact cardan lift. Oh, my brain's not working too well on this Sunday afternoon. All right. Next one up is a compact 4-bar mechanism. I call this one Hoken. It's a neat relationship between a couple of different geometries that lifts them up into the next module. So it kind of has this kind of hooking action going on. From there we're into a Rickfield themed module. It's a really clever use of the wheel. I really love the way he hooked up the digger on the inner bit there. Of course, I'm not quite sure how safe it is to have a stick of dynamite next to the driver, but you know, it is what it is. From there we're into, of course, this is the Brick Fair workshop module. Brought all the way from the US. I picked up one of those when I was living over there. This one, I think these were the tokens they used to give out for bingo. So they have a really cool bingo game they play at the Brick Fairs in the US. Yeah, because my kids built these modules, they decided to use those tokens to add a bit of colour to the module. From there into Whirligig, Hoken, which we saw a couple of modules before. Of course, is using very similar frame to Hoken. It was very much a challenge of trying to fit a 4-bar into this size frame. We're then into a Solaire. Looks like the balls have dried up a little. Oh, here we go, we've got one ball coming through. There we go, you can see the Solaire. Of course, using the very old skate ramps from the sports sets. The sets, of course, where we originally saw the balls that we use in all our GBC. And lastly, we're into my tower crane. Of course, it's another big one, always hard to fit in shot. Oh, there we go, roughly. So yeah, this one picks the balls up at the start. It actually lifts them up the center of the tower crane, up to the middle, and then they come up and over the top. And this show was, of course, the first show that I've had a really big accident with the tower crane. I was a little bit lapse in putting it up. I had threw it on the table without connecting one of these stays, and as a result, the whole thing went boo. So there was a bit of panicked preparing going on there with that one. So I hope you enjoyed that walkthrough. It's been really cool to be here at NAWIC's Open Construction Day with the West Australian Brick Society. We've had a lot of fun running the GBC loop. We've got another hour or two left today. For those that have come along, they've had a huge amount of fun in the brick pit, leg activities upstairs. They had an amazing smorgasbord of food outside. So I hope you enjoyed the video and I look forward to making more.